Happy Monday, everybody. It's currently 6 o'clock. I got home from work like an hour and a half ago, so I've had a shower and I'm now sitting down to do some uni work because I've remembered that tomorrow is our last lecture of the module that I'm auditing, and I believe we're supposed to be sharing with each other within the hour with miniature presentations what it is that we're doing for our final essay. And obviously I'm not partaking in the final essay, but I feel like I have to prepare something to talk to people about. So I'm planning on making just a couple of slides talking about my research and the Neanderthal art section, since that's basically what the module is. It's prehistoric art. So I was like, at least then I can contribute a little bit, and obviously it's only right, especially now that I'm going on the Creswell Craggs trip on Friday. Currently, I'm feeling very overwhelmed and stressed. Last night I had quite a long rant to Jack because I just feel like a lot of things are getting on top of me at the minute. Like, I know I've got a lot of uni work to do, and that's standard because I'm doing a research like it needs doing. But I just feel like I sit here and I do work and nothing happens. And like, I could sit here for hours, at the end of it, be like satisfied. And then when it comes round to like a week later, I'm like, what did I just spend the last week doing? I don't even know. Work, like my job, is also kind of stressing me out at the minute. I'm only doing 2 days a week, but it really is draining the life out of me. And I've just been feeling like every time I go, it's like a chore, which it didn't used to. And it's kind of, I think it's a good reflection of how much bigger the workload is for uni and how much more like burned out it's making me feel when I'm only doing 2 days at work, aiming for 4 to 5 days at uni. And I've never felt so tired and somehow less satisfied and less accomplished in comparison to like the last 3 years where I was doing like 4 or 5 days of work at my job and then only like 2 to 3 days at uni. So they're kind of totally reversed. It turns out, I guess, maybe academia is more draining than I expected. I don't think it really is. I just think I, as a person, I'm very fed up and tired about a lot of stuff at the minute. Um, I don't feel like it's going down a mental health route yet, but I do feel like every day I go to work, I think there's a million other things better I could be doing. It's not really worth the money. Like, obviously, my wage still reflects the hours I was doing as it did before, but it's a significant drop. And so every time I'm there, I'm like, is it worth spending 2 days here getting paid, pennies when I could be just doing my degree? I would say no. But can I afford to do the degree without the pennies? Also, no. So I guess we just have to be brave about it. Have quite a busy week ahead, actually, quite busy. Yes, today even. I'm sorry, I'm really all over the place today. Today I was at work. Tomorrow I got uni in the library after. Wednesday got uni work to do. Got in the train back to my parents in the evening. Thursday, me and my brother are driving down to Stoke because he wants to go get his first tattoo, so I'm going with him. And then Thursday night, gotta get the train back to York. Friday, gotta be up for 7 because I need to be on campus by 9 to go on the field trip to Sheffield to Creswell Craggs. So I won't get back from there till like 5 o'clock ish on campus, and then it's still another hour back home. So I start till 6 o'clock. Haven't got anything planned for Saturday. Nobody talked to me. Sunday, I have got to go to work, and again, it's the hour walk distance, and I'm working with a new member of staff who I've not met yet, which is adding to my anxiety about that, if I'm honest. I'm not looking forward to it. Part of me is hoping it's horrible weather because then I can just show her the ropes and not feel the pressure of the queue. But also, I don't really want to make friends this week. I'm not feeling up for that. So I kind of hope it's really busy and then I don't have to talk to her too much, more than the basics. Uh, which sounds rude, but that's also not ideal because she doesn't know how to do anything yet. So I would literally be doing everything and she would just be watching. So I don't really know. Maybe I'll call in sick. Maybe I'll get in an accident and won't be able to go. Who knows? Yeah, maybe I'll actually fall down the gorge or like break my leg in the cave on the field trip on Friday. That might be a better way to spend my weekend, I think, actually, in the hospital. I'd prefer it. But yeah, all of that to say, as usual, as I go on, I'm gonna try and make some kind of thing to show tomorrow in like an hour. And then I don't know what to do for dinner. I'm really feel like I deserve and I really want Nando's because it's my third day in a row at work. I haven't actually had a day off doing zilch in over a week, and I just feel so drained and tired. I just feel like I deserve a treat, but then also I'm stressed about money, so is it really worth it? So to compromise, I did perhaps buy myself another Raspberry and Cassis Echo Falls on the way home, which I'm going to allow myself to enjoy once I sort this presentation thing out. So I'll get back to you on that. But yeah, happy Monday, guys. I'm not giving happy Monday vibes, but yeah, happy Monday to you. Sorry, also, I need to just say I feel like I started this week off bad because I started it complaining all last night, leading till like 1 a.m. to Jack about everything that's stressing me out and upsetting me. I woke up this morning not very excited to go to work, as you might expect. Ended up being literally fine, but you know, it's the pre-stress, pre-upset, pre-anxiety that gets you, you know. And then the first thing I did this morning was knock over my tripod, because I was going to chat to you this morning before work. Um, but I knocked my tripod over and I've broken it. So that's not cool. And another thing I'm going to have to pay for because I need to buy a whole new phone adapter for it. Because literally the phone adapter is the only piece that broke. Like the um thread that it spirals onto to actually attach to the tripod, it just cracks the whole way through. And I was like, maybe I can super glue it, but the plastic just doesn't. It doesn't puzzle piece nicely back together. So that's also ruined. And also another thing that's been annoying me is I don't think we've got new neighbours because it's May. Nobody's like moving out, moving in the term time, you know. It's exam season, so I wouldn't expect anybody to be changing housing. And to be fair, most of the houses around us are just normal families. But there's one to this side of us that is a student house, and I don't know if they've just discovered that they can open windows or go in the back garden. But maybe it's the sunshine and it's bringing them out. But they're so loud. They don't stop talking. And then we've got new neighbours across the road, and I guess they have a baby. Last night at like 11:30, window wide open, baby screaming down the street basically. And I was like, I know babies cry, and I know it's warm, I get it, but I don't want to hear your baby crying. It's not my baby. And that was just like another thing that's been annoying me because, as well, last week I mentioned that the neighbour 3 doors down and across the road have been having scaffolding put up and stuff done on their house. So that's also just like noise pollution. And I'm very agitated and sensitive about sounds. So, on top of everything else that's been annoying me, why is everybody around me like making their presence known vocally, audibly? I would quite like it if I could live in the middle of nowhere and nobody made any noise. I didn't know anybody was there. In fact, people can be there, but they have to be in absolute utter silence. I don't want to hear you breathe. I don't want to hear or see you. Nothing. I'm okay, thank you. I'm I'm too agitated for this. Hey guys, it's me again. I've been trying to figure out what I'm doing for this presentation, and honestly, I think I've given up. I was going through a Neanderthal creative culture, did they or didn't they kind of vibe. And then I was looking at the thing that my supervisor and module leader suggested, which was to talk about a theme relating to the um question, and obviously I'm not doing that. So I'm trying to somehow relate the theme back to my research, and I've gone through like 4 different iterations of what this presentation will be like. I was gonna do, a slide which I have finished, to be fair, on what my research is, how I'm looking at context and influence, and more specifically how that's meant that Neanderthals have gone from the dumb ape to the resilient caveman to what we today would just call a person, which I think is really interesting. And so then I was going to talk about how like cognition and our understanding or acceptance of the extent of their cognition is what's most influenced our conversations around their creative culture. Because obviously, if we don't believe that they had the cognition or the capacity to create art, then there's no conversation to be had around art, do you know? Because the conversation ends soon as everybody in the conversation agrees that they weren't able to. Do you know what I mean? And so I was kind of going to be like, we don't have a lot of conversations about Neanderthal art in the early stages of Neanderthal research because of this. And then I was going to maybe go on about like how a key part of this debate for me, from what I've read, is again the acculturation theory, and how if Neanderthals did create art, it was only because they did because modern humans taught them. So I was looking at trying to find some examples of artifacts where this kind of conversation is being had. So I found two. One which is from 2015, in which, oh no, 2003 even, my bad, where we're looking at something, and at that time the authors were saying we already knew symbolic behaviour existed, blah blah blah. So you'd think they agreed that prior to modern humans, earlier Homo was capable. And then that compared to the giant deer phalanx found in 2014, but the papers from 2021, they're saying the question remains whether Neanderthals could have been influenced by modern humans. And like that's interesting because you would suspect that with the acculturation theory kind of being a thing in the 80s, the earlier paper might be more likely to fall into that did they, didn't they? But instead, the earlier paper was actually more open minded. I just don't know how to make that presentation or a theme that actually really relates to the module. It's kind of like totally separate, I guess. And honestly, part of me just wants to not bother going tomorrow and come up with an excuse for why. Because I don't know, I feel like I'm missing something here and I don't know what it is, and I've kind of had enough. But I'm going to try and persevere and get it done. I just want to go to bed, to be honest. I'm really fed up. Like, it on paper or in my brain, it feels like a really good idea, but I'm trying to write it, and I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to say this in front of an audience tomorrow at 12 o'clock. But, yeah, that's how it's going. Right, you'll have to ignore the shaky filming, but this is what I've done, and I'm just going to have to make it up tomorrow. But basically, I'm going Neanderthal crave culture. Did they or didn't they? In reality, it's a cognitive debates, and I've just done like the old man of La Chapelle versus this like he just chilling kind of guy. Would he pass on the New York subway motif? So I'm doing this dissertation research, so I'm not actually doing your essays, guys, but what I am looking at in this is the context and influences for how we interpret Neanderthal evidence, specifically about cave culture. Something that I have realised in doing this is that we've been on a trajectory of changing them from the dumb ape to a resilient caveman to what I think now we could call a person. And this is what we would call unilinear models. Now, part of the research about Neanderthals that I found the most interesting is the acculturation theory. Now, the acculturation theory is an interesting one because it doesn't really follow this unilinear pattern. Instead, it talks about how Neanderthals were still quite incapable, think the resilient caveman. When modern humans arrived with their Aurignacian culture and interacted with Neanderthals and their Mysterian culture, some kind of interactions happened which led to Chatel-Perronian. Now, this might be modern humans influencing Neanderthals to create it, or it might be modern humans creating it and Neanderthals picking it up and adopting it. So I found this quote which I thought was quite interesting, which really links the acculturation theory to the idea of creative culture, which is the cognitive capacity for creative expression and symbolic behaviour among Homo sapiens has been acknowledged for a long time. In contrast, evidence for it in Neanderthals remains far more elusive, and its independence from Homo sapiens has often been contested. But at the end of this, it always comes back to cognitions. Could they or couldn't they? And so I have found two pieces of evidence which really show how the acculturation theory impacts our interpretation of creative culture. So my first one is La Roche-Cotard, and Marquette and Laure Blanchette in 2003, I need to change that, said, one should not forget that at the time of the Mysterian, the existence of symbolic behaviour is already firmly attested. And this is interesting because this a significantly earlier paper than this one, which states that the question remains whether Neanderthals at Einhornholer could have been influenced by Homo sapiens when carving this bone. So the fact that there's nearly 20 years difference between these, you would assume that the earlier paper might think to credit modern humans for Neanderthal creativity. However, it actually suggests that maybe the acculturation theory in itself is evolving, and in that, adapting how we look at creative culture. There's my bibliography. So yeah, basically I'm going to say something like that tomorrow, and that was about 3 minutes, which is how long we have to talk, so I think I'm going to call it a night. Happy Tuesday, everybody. I'm dressed and ready to go to my module. I have put some makeup on because I just don't feel comfortable standing in front of everybody and looking at me, if that's going to be how it works, because I don't really understand if we're sharing our presentations in small groups or if we're going to have to plug our laptops in at the front for everybody to like listen, but they're also only 3 minutes, so that seems like a bit excessive, low-key, so I have no idea what's happening. So anyway, I've put some makeup on and I've scrunched my hair. I could do with washing it. It's still wet, so it's not greasy like that bad that it looks slick right now. I got my cat t-shirt on for moral support, of course, and then I have just got my brown corduroys on from Urban Outfitters as usual. But yeah, I'm gonna get going now. It looks quite nice outside, but I think it's only like 10 degrees, so I don't know if I'm going to be sweaty when I get there, so I want to get there early so I can like calm down and cool down beforehand. New angle of the bedroom unlocked. What do we think? Kind of crazy. I'm back from my little module thing. Turns out the presentation really did not need me spending 4 hours stressing over it last night. We ended up doing it in groups of 4 because only 8 people showed up. And then we just talked to each other in the group of 4 about the theme that stood out to us. So, I don't know, that was a bit of a waste of time. But one of the other girls in my group, who I've now made friends with, which can I just say, we're on week 11 the last week, and I feel like I haven't really made any friends at uni this year, probably because the module doesn't really sit for like much interaction with other people sometimes, and you know, everyone's just doing their own thing, and if you're staying on as a student, likely you've already got a group of friends. No one's out here trying to make new ones. But I'm always kind of like open to making a friend, especially in archaeology. I think it's a really good thing to do. And so I made friends with somebody after like 11 weeks of this module, and that's really cool. And she was saying how she also spent like 4 hours working on it last night, only for it to end up not being that serious. So it's like great minds think alike, I guess. But after that, I went to the library because I did have a library booking, and I had my lunch, and then I did not feel like I could sit and concentrate. Like, I've got stuff I need to do, but I was just like, I don't know, if I just sit here, I feel like I'm going to twiddle my thumbs for a bit and not get much done. So I decided to come home, put my PJs on, take my makeup off, because to be honest, I didn't really want to get dressed and leave the house or anything today. So I don't know, I was just sat there feeling like I wish I was in my pyjamas right now. So yeah, I've come home, and I think I'm probably I feel like I want a nap. Like, I don't know if you can see in my eyes. I feel really tired. Like, I don't know, maybe those like multiple days of doing stuff like over a week now and just feeling tired. I'm like, maybe I just actually have a couple hours doing nothing this afternoon and chill at home by myself, because Jack's also not here, and I always find I feel the most relaxed when I'm home by myself. And then yeah, I think I'll probably just do some work later. I know by the end of today I want to have my whole plan finished, with all my references and everything, so then tomorrow I can start writing, because I think I'm not really doing much next week, whilst I've still got a busy week ahead, and I'm feeling like even if I can spend at least like 4 or 5 full days writing, I could easily get like 2,000-3,000 words done potentially, and then with that I'll have something to talk to my supervisor about next Friday when I have another meeting with him, because I want to get a decent chunk of the literature review done, because then I can start thinking about the methods, because I've got until I go on holiday, which I believe is like 7-8 weeks maybe, So yeah, if I give myself 7 to 8 weeks to get all the lit review draft finished and the methods, and hopefully maybe even revisit the introduction, I don't feel like that's too crazy. It might be a little bit crazy, but I'm gonna try anyway. Doesn't hurt to try. And yeah, but before I try, I'm gonna have a chill. Might even have a nap potentially, because I feel like I've not slept well or enough recently either, which is probably contributing to my low moods and low energy at the minute. Hey everybody, I thought I would update you on my lit review. I've nearly finished writing down every single quote and all the authors that I think are necessary. But when I did that, I've done it in like quite broad categories, and as I'm putting the pieces in place, it just doesn't feel like it's flowing very well. So started a new document, which is called Lit Review Final Plan. And in this one, I've separated the literature review into like 3 sub-chapters, and then each of those sub-chapters have got 3 subheadings. So, first one, Early Neanderthal Studies Context. And the 3 subheadings in that is Human Antiquity and Religious Influence, Colonialism and Race Theory, European Sapien Superiority. Solid. Okay, so that'll give us all the context on how we got to that whole Neanderthal Ooga Booga vibe. Yep. And then second subchapter, Science, Technology and Evidence. Then the 3 subheadings, Evolutionary Studies, Research and Technology, New Evidence. The idea of this section is going to kind of bring in more of that scientific aspect of not only is it like the colonial racist vibe that's got us there, but also what were the like scientists and naturalists saying for us to get there. And then at the end of that chapter, we're kind of coming to modern day, where it's like research and technology, like, you know, the invention of radiocarbon dating, how that's changed things, the DNA evidence, and then the new evidence being some like the creative artifacts, which now we can confirm were Neanderthal. And within that, it's going to flow into the next section, which is the creative debate. And on this, the 3 subheadings, cognition, the modern human package, ability, the acculturation theory, and art, change in interpretation. So obviously, when we get to the new evidence, we're going to then talk about cognition, which brings us the whole circle kind of back to them no longer being inferior to modern humans. And also, it talks about the modern human package, which not only is about like how ooga booga were they, it was also what were they actually capable of. You know, it's not just about smacking rocks together anymore. It's about society. It's about social structures. We're talking about hunting strategies, toolkits, but also then creativity and symbolism. So then the modern human package obviously is all of that in one. And were we applying that to Neanderthals, and how a lot of the creative debate, from what I interpret, is the cognition. Were they capable? Were they not? Even when we now no longer consider them as apes, we still, for some reason, is that whole could they, couldn't they kind of vibe. And the ability, the acculturation theory, that's going to link to the cognition as well. But I think that's quite important, because where we are giving them credit, we're still not the same as what we're giving modern humans. You know, there's always those authors who are kind of like, did they actually, or were they influenced? Did they actually, or did they just pick it up from modern humans? And then art, changing interpretation. So in that, I'm going to also kind of have to do a little throwback to the like 1880s, when pal art became a study in itself, and how that has also, again, throwback, been impacted by Western civilization and Eurocentrism. So it all then kind of comes together in this last section about creative culture and the creative debate, which obviously is important because my whole research is on how have we interpreted and understood Neanderthal creative culture. Is there even an understanding of it? Have we been quite stagnant? All of those things, what are we saying? So once I've given all this context to where we are today, but then in my research, I can get all of that timeline up, the authors who've said what, analyse the language they've used, bring in again what the context is and how did we get there, and then use that to inform how we need to look at this evidence in the future. Does that make sense? I feel like it does. I feel like something's clicked this evening, which is nice because it's midnight right now. So if nothing had clicked yet, I think I'll be in trouble. Happy Wednesday, everybody. It's 11 o'clock now, but I've been up since 9. Kind of crazy. It's because I've decided I'm going to start setting an alarm for 9 o'clock so that I can get online and do the library booking, because obviously everybody's been very efficient and doing it, and they always come out a week in advance. So like today, Wednesday, I could book for next Wednesday, but I wouldn't be able to book Thursday till tomorrow morning. Does that make sense? And in exam season in third year, I used to set my alarm for 9 o'clock every day just to be able to book my library booking before other people did it. Even though I still would probably go back to bed because my library bookings, I tend to go for like a 12 till 8. I work better in the afternoon than I do morning. That's just me personally, but you know. So I decided to do that and I forgot I'd done that. So at 9 o'clock this morning, I was awoken by my phone buzzing to book the library booking, and I almost went back to sleep, and then I was like, what are you doing? Just fucking book it. And then by the time I had done that, I was awake, so I just got up. And as I said, it's like 11 o'clock now. Jack's still asleep, bless him, so he must be really needing it. He's usually the one that's up at like 8 or 9 every day, and I stay in bed till lunchtime. But I was like, you know what, I'm gonna come upstairs. It's nice and sunny. Look at the gorgeous, I mean, you can't really see it, just blurs out, but it's nice weather. It's kind of warm. It looks nice out. I feel like it's actually only still again 10 degrees, but at least the sun's out, you know. And so while I'm actually awake and feeling productive, thought cup of tea. I'm finished doing this plan, because I think I've got about 6 pages left of my research notes, which was 68 pages long, by the way. I want to fill them in on the broad categories and then just shuffle it all over into this new plan, and then I can start actually writing. Which, I mean, I feel like it's pedantic and faffy trying to do this, but I think it's going to set me up for a much easier writing session, which is honestly all I could ask for. So that's what I'm going to do. Tonight I'm getting the train back to my mum and dad's because tomorrow I'm going to go with my brother and he wants to get a tattoo. He's not had one before. I have got 7, so, you know, he was like, will you come with me? And I said, oh, of course I will. And then I might have also booked to get one myself, which realistically I cannot financially afford right now, but what's done is done. The money's out of my bank account now. We'll worry about it later. So yeah, I'm gonna get the train home tonight so we can go down to Stoke as well, quite far away, to get these tattoos tomorrow, and then I got to obviously come back. So it's gonna be. I'm kind of looking forward to this week. Monday I was feeling overwhelmed and like everything was busy and miserable and terrible. And today I feel significantly better. So that's good. You know, mood improvements and all. So yeah, let me get on with some of this and I'll catch up with you later. Right, all of my quotes and references are in place. Look at this, man. It's like crazy. The puzzle pieces are all fitting together. The narrative's coming together. It's actually kind of insane. Like when you look at it like that, that's 13 pages and 4,733 words. So basically I just need to double that and I'll have my lit review. So by turning these like references and statements into full sentences, I feel like this could be low-key a bit easy. I'm kind of excited. Right, I'm all dressed to go get my train. I decided, because I'm only going for one night, I may as well wear what I'm going to wear tomorrow. And since I'm getting my tattoo on like top bit of my arm there above the mammoth, where it's like, you know, nothing's there, I was like, oh, I need to wear a vest top. So this is the outfit. Same pants as yesterday, but I'm feeling real snazzy because you can see my tramp stamp. And I feel like when you go get a tattoo, you've got to be like, yeah, I've got loads of other ones, so that then they know you're not always lucky. But I'm ready. My train is literally still in like 2 hours, but I hate rushing to the station and I need to go to Tesco's first, so I'm probably going to head off in like 5. Happy Thursday, everybody. Me and Sam are here to come get our tattoos. I was a bit nervous.
I'm not engaging in the video.
But I think he's going to be absolutely fine. We've got to go in 15 minutes, but he's going to be fine.
Playing Ada.
Okay, everybody. I am back from our little trip all the way down to Stoke. We then drove up to Manchester because it was like 3 hours back to York. Went to Trafford Centre. Didn't really buy anything. We just walked around for like 40 minutes just so we could get out of the car, and then 2 hours back up to York. But here's what she's looking like. So it's biggest tattoo I've got yet. Pain wise, it's pretty tolerable, to be honest. I could have probably done that again for like another double it, you know. I think it was like an hour or more. So far she's looking very, you know, slimy as they do. So I'm probably just gonna go wash it. I need to wash my face, put my PJs on. I'm gonna make some dinner, which is probably just literally gonna be some boiled egg on toast. And then go to bed because I'm really tired. I got up at 6 o'clock this morning. Was it like 9 o'clock yesterday? And I feel sleepy. And tomorrow, obviously, I'm gonna have to get up again, probably like 6, half 6, maybe 7 if I really push it, so I can be there for the field trip. But I also, before I go to bed tonight, I need to double check I've signed the what's called like safety thing, and also I need to see if I can find my walking boots, because I've got some that are like my excavation boots, and obviously I haven't worn those in 3 years. For a little bit of time they were with my grandma. I'm pretty sure I have them back now, so I'm hoping they're under the bed somewhere, so fingers crossed we'll find them. But who knows, might have to just go in my gym shoes, which might suck if it's muddy, but what can we do? Happy Friday, everybody. I'm all dressed to go on my field trip. Good news, I found my walking boots. It's supposed to be like quite warm later, like 16, 17 degrees. So I kind of, in an ideal world, would do jumper and vest top, but I just want to make sure that my tattoo is obviously covered, because if it's actually quite sunny, you don't want to be getting like sunburn on a fresh tattoo. That would be crazy. So I've decided to wear this t-shirt because it's baggy, but you know, it's breathable, but it also covers my tattoo without being like tight to it. Maybe a bit of a problem is that it's drop shoulder, and obviously the tattoo is like right there, so the drop shoulder is on it, but I think we can live because it's not tight, you know. I've also put on my shorts, which, hold on, I'll move the camera down. My little shorts, if you can tell, like you can't, they stop at like the ankle, so they're like culottes, I guess. Like stand on the bed, you'll be able to see them. Wow, look at them, check them out. So yeah, I put those on because again, if it's supposed to be warm, and I don't know, jeans, I just don't really want to walk around in jeans. I thought leggings, but I didn't really want to walk around in leggings again either. So testing out the shorts for the first time. Not sure how they're going to look with the walking boots, but who cares? It's about comfort and like appropriate clothing, you know what I mean? So I'm going to be setting off in like half an hour to go to uni. Like, I got up at 6:30 in the end, even though now I'm sitting here, I'm like, maybe I didn't need to. But I am kind of glad I did, because I'm not in a rush now. So yeah, I'm quite excited to go. I still feel like I'm asleep, if I'm honest. So I will show you what we're doing. I'll take little videos and pictures maybe along the way today. But obviously won't be talking, because that would be a bit weird to be like, what's up everybody, in front of, you know, a class of people. Not to mention my new friend. I highly doubt that she wants to watch me do that. So, you know, just some nice videos and pictures for the IG and for this, of course. And then, yeah, I will talk to you more about it later, I'm sure. But I'm gonna finish getting ready to leave now. We're going up to the caves. Rate the outfit, rate the hat. Oh, hold on.
Right, they said there were 26 caves. Cut down some ivy over the winter months, 2 new potential caves. So there could be more stuff here, because we haven't found yet. There's so much stuff possible. These 3 completely different ideas. sides and on the back here. You have got Paul. You've got your eye here. We can make quite a fine line down the front of their face, under their sort of chin, and down the front of the body, a large lump on their chest, and then there's one leg just there. Can you all sort of see what I'm talking about? Amazing. We can then head under the belly line here, it's quite a clear one, to a slightly fainter back leg, and then we lose the rest of it. So it's likely there would have been an artwork just here, but that section of our cave has been really bad. There's two lines that make up that hump. There's a top one and a lower one. So then you've got a horn and an ear. There's even a shoulder as well. So in the middle here, got quite a distinctive shoulder blade. Just there. What is it? There. That's really accurate as a horse. That is
Right, I am home now from my field trip. The trip was really fun. I was a little bit like disappointed, low-key. Like the treasure hunter archaeologist in me was a bit disappointed because the engravings on the cave walls, which was the art, I mean it was there, but it was not very visible to like the naked eye in a cave. And like the woman who took us on the tour, she was using like a laser pointer and like a flashlight to like try and point it out and like almost draw over it with the laser pointer. And like when she'd do that, I'd be like, oh yeah, I kind of see it. And like compared to some of the pictures online where they've got the like the really high quality definition photo and then like drawn over it digitally to like show you where it is, that makes you like, oh yeah, that's cave art. But when you're literally in the cave, it's like, what can I see? It feels like the equivalent to looking up at the clouds and then like trying to see pictures in it, especially because the cave was like really like it had like the cracks all in it, which is like typical of limestone, but then also like the calcium deposits like coming down, the stalagmites, like it also had like natural wormholes in it from like, I don't know, like 200 million years ago when the rock was like formed and like insects had like gone through it while it was still like sediment and not rock. So it was pretty difficult to see anything. So I was a bit like disappointed because it wasn't so obvious as I'd hoped it would be, but also it was really cool to be in there and see it at all. So it was really good fun. And then we went to the museum after like we'd had some lunch, and that again, I can't lie, I was a bit disappointed, but that's not like Creswell Craggs' fault. Turns out that like the British Museum, always at the scene of the crime, owns like all of the collection that's been found there like since like 1900s. And so anything that they have on display in the actual museum is on loan from the British Museum, and some of the artifacts, which they've got like basically an empty shelf with the information but no artifacts there because the British Museum's taken them back, which I think is quite interesting because I looked to go to British Museum in like February time, was it? When I went down to London with my mum, and they don't have like any Paleolithic exhibitions on, which means that some of all these like beautiful in like really interesting artifacts, they're all just in storage boxes. And like the issue of that being like nobody's interested in a Paleolithic exhibition, but also how is anybody going to be interested in it if there's none to see? Like nobody's going to get excited about something they don't know about, you know? And like when you go to somewhere like Creswell Craggs, which is besides maybe Kent's Cavern, like one of the only like prehistoric sites. I don't even actually, yeah, Kent's Cavern is prehistoric but not in like a human activity way, I'm pretty sure. I can't remember off the top of my head. I know there's like mammoths and hyena bones similar to Creswell. But it's like one of the, you know, great places where it's actually got human-made artifacts that are not even visible. You don't even get to see them. And for the like people living up north, obviously Kent's Cavern's in Devon, so for the north of England, it's one of the only like prehistoric cave sites that we can visit. You know, we've got two maybe in the whole, like two major ones in the whole of the UK, and you go to the museum and there's not even any artifacts to see. That's obviously disappointing from my perspective because it's like I've come to see them, but for people who maybe don't know much about it and just like go on a whim, just why not, they're in the area, or even like just don't even know anything about the Paleolithic, like you go somewhere to learn and there's nothing there to see. And I just think the museum in that way is quite disappointing. But of course, again, that's not their fault, you know? It's not their fault that the cave walls have eroded the engravings and the art. Obviously, it's not. It's still awesome to see that. But, you know, I'm looking at the prices and I'm like, £15 to go on a tour where you can barely see it, £10 to go in a museum where a bunch of the artifacts are not even there. Like, majority of what they had in the museum was like hyena bones. Like they had some skulls, they had a cave bear skull, and they had like a part of a hippopotamus mandible. A couple like flint artifacts. They did, to be fair, have some interesting, like they did have like the, I think it's called the ochre horse, which is like the engraved horse on some bone, which is then like embellished with ochre, which is still on display. But another one of the items, which is like an engraving, which is supposed to look quite like human shaped, British Museum's just got it in a fucking cupboard somewhere, which I just think is incredibly disappointing. Like Paleolithic archaeology in the UK is so understated. Like I didn't know much about it till I came to uni. To be fair, I was going to do Egyptology, and then I was like, wait, Paleolithic history, love that. Like compared to Europe, we don't do it. You know, it's all like Vikings and Romans, medieval periods, which are obviously equally as awesome, but no one's ever going to know about these things and get excited about them the way they should if, you know, massive like company, I'm going to call the British Museum a company, I don't know if that's the correct frame, but if massive companies like that are not funding or using their like extensive resources to like share with people, like I'm sorry, the British Museum's gonna have whole sections on like Asian history of artifacts that they've stolen, but they're not gonna bother to display actual British like Paleolithic, Mesolithic artifacts. Like, you know, I don't really know entirely what my opinion is on the British Museum in terms of like non-native to the UK artifacts. I think on one hand they're good because how else would a lot of British people learn about culture outside of here? You know, it's a national attraction. It brings in lots of money and revenue. It funds archaeology, which is obviously really awesome. Funds history, it's great. But I just find it really incredibly disappointing to not use the materials we have on hand about Britain and, you know, tell us about our own history. Like, there's so many places where you could go see exhibits about lots of things, you know, so many of them overdone in a sense. Like, how many different museums in the UK have Viking or Roman artifacts on display, but literally nothing from prehistory? And I just think that's kind of disappointing, and hopefully that will improve in the future. As promised though, on a lighter note, I did go to the gift shop, of course. So I bought one of these. Now, she's iconic, the Venus of Willendorf. She is probably one of the main reasons I got into prehistory. Like, specifically, I love the Neolithic for a bit, but then I learnt about Neanderthals and I was like, actually, I love them. I'm a bit more on the anthropological side of things, but the Venus of Willendorf means very much to me. She was a turning stone artifact for my change to being a prehistorian rather than an Egyptologist. And so she's a fridge magnet. But look at her beautiful form, little vulva out. Let's go. So I'm going to put her on my fridge and I'm going to enjoy looking at her every single day. And then I did look at all the woolly mammoth teddies. I did in fact hold the one that cost £60 and then very gingerly put it back because I can't pay for that. That's too much money. However, I did get a t-shirt because it's made to look like a band t-shirt, but it's about like I want to say it's Neanderthal remains, but some of these don't seem like Neanderthal sites, but quite a few of them are. So I'm going to say it is a Neanderthal t-shirt, which obviously perfect. It says original rock stars with a Neanderthal skull and then what looks to be mammoth tusks. Not sure why it says, I don't even know what that's supposed to be, 99 or something, but it says at the bottom, for those who know about rock, we salute you, which I just think is quite funny. And then on the back of it is the best bit. It's European rock top, and on the back is all Neanderthal like cave sites, which is just so fun. And obviously quite a few of them are my fave, but I love Creswell Craggs on the top. There's Castle Puck in Ireland, Dordogne in France, Mettmann in Germany, Altamira in Spain, Co Valley, Fumin, Petrolina, Skladina, Moldova one, Bachakira and Krapina, some of my favourite sites. I think some of them might be modern human or like just other human remain sites from prehistory, but the fact that it's a Neanderthal on the front and my favourite Neanderthal sites are on the back of it and it's made to look like a, you know, metal band t-shirt, I was like, gotta do it. So it was £20, and I'm really incredibly happy with her. So overall, had a great day, and I'm probably gonna end the vlog here because it's probably getting too long now after probably all the clips I've just taken at Creswell, and all I'm doing this weekend is some more uni work, which I'll maybe just catch up with uni about next week, and work, so not super fun. But as usual, thank you so much for watching if you did. Please go and support palaeolithic sites like Creswell Craggs. You know, they needed £23,000 to refit all the stairs and the safety measures that go into the cave, so go visit them and help them out there if you can. And I hope you have a good rest of your week, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye!